Greetings in the name of the Most High, Yeshua. The corruption is so palpable in these various races. You understand that the left's machine, their criminal contacts, the union thugs, and the ability to game the system, all funded by George Soros. George Soros is the evilest man in the world. He takes great pride and pleasure in destroying people's lives, bankrupting countries. Then he goes and gets favor by bankrolling all the poor people. He is touted by the evil witch, queen of all, Hillary Clinton, witch, queen, and king. The one who took such great pleasure and aplomb at torching all the kids at Waco, who apparently called the order, according to rumors. And those are the kind of people that Soros hangs out. Soros is a young man. Sided up with the Nazis against his own Jewish brethren, turned against the Jews, and has turned against them now, and is pulling all the strings to have Israel declared illegitimate on the global stage. So all of you Israel haters and replacement theology people, don't let it worry you, because you see, your theology, it doesn't matter what happens to Israel or the Jews, got nothing to do with you. It's got no prophetic significance whatsoever. Now that's a bald-faced lie. So all of you people that keep going around with it, you're actually really stupid. But let me just tell you something. Yeah, it all goes to theology. It all goes to theology. I just want you to know, if you are a replacement theology guy, you are Israel. The Israel of Palestine right now is not the Israel of God, so it doesn't really matter if the Pope... I just want you to know what company you're in. Number one, you're with the Vatican. Number two, you're with the UN. Mr. Moggins, you're with the UN. I hope you enjoy that. You're with the UN, you're with the Vatican, and you're with the great number, the majority of Christians. Save for the evangelical, but I mean in terms of churchianity, many, many churches are on that side. So you're basically 501c3. Anyway, congratulations all of you, because you don't have to be in this fight, and it doesn't have anything to do. Keep making your false prophecies. Keep making your false predictions. Keep saying things that don't come due. Keep being confused. Keep not waiting for the Lord's return. And keep putting a knife in the back of Israel. And let's just see what happens to you in the end. Let's see who's right then. Anyway, these are matters of faith. No, I mention what's his name because of the fact that apparently I'm living rent-free in his head. He just keeps doing audio after audio, exposing me for the evil Zionist that I am. And it's, I hear it through the grapevine, and what do you want me to do? I have my views, and I'm honest about them, and they are the truth as far as I know it, and that's what I put out there, the truth as I know it. And I do believe that anything that's against Israel, that is against prophetic Israel, would be an Antichrist spirit. And that's what I believe. So sue me. That's what I believe. That's what the Lord has shown me. And the Lord has shown other people other things. So it's up to you to decide. It doesn't even matter, because this is not even the issue. The issue is more like tribes, isn't it? The issue in terms of people getting along or not, birds of a feather flock together and all that. There is an Antichrist spirit that hates the Jews and that says Israel is not of God. There really is that. And that looks at the Bible or claims what is a Jew. They always like to start this argument. They love to debate with people the matters that are matters of faith, not debate. They're matters of faith. You make up your own mind based on the evidence, based on your heart, not necessarily your head. Okay? But they want to do that. Oh, yes. These sort of left-wing intellectual types, elitist snobs, what they really want to do is they really want you to eventually side with the Muslims. They're not that bad. Turn a blind eye to radical Islam, one of the biggest problems in the world, also funded by Soros. Hello. Israel is not of God. therefore, side with the UN because Israel's atrocities are so bad that we must consider them illegitimate. Also, while you're at it, consider the United States illegitimate as well, and it ought to be taken down because actually justice dictates and demands it. So you're really also siding with the White House, with the far extreme left in America, and that's where you are, politically and theologically. If you, anybody with any sense would look at that and say that's evil, that's Antichrist. I mean, anybody. If they came here from another planet, that's what they would see. That's what they would say. So they want to get, I don't know, it's a time-wasting thing. I predict that those of you on the fence of this issue are going to side against Israel. That's my prediction on you. I predict that, well, the one I just mentioned is not really even on the stage right now. He's not even really in the mix. I mean, like compared to, say, the Vatican. Or I predict that you will side with the UN, with the Vatican, with the extreme left, and that the bitter root, you know, the people that also have these views, like I say, hate America. I mean, hate America. They won't vote. They won't participate. So George Soros' money has done good. It has caused you not to vote. Well, that's what he wants. He wants to float all these conspiracy theories through all his media outlets on the internet and you jump at every single one of them. So the delegitimizing of Israel that began with the UN and then 3 weeks ago was confirmed by the Vatican. You've got to jump on that bandwagon. You've got to also say in your heart, Jesus is not returning to the world. There is no second coming of Jesus. If he does come, it would be in your heart or in your mind. It's not a physical return. You must also, therefore, take the Bible, take the book of Revelation, and shred it. You know, spiritualize it all, metaphorize it all, so that it will fit your little political ideology, which is what it is. And when you're done with all that, you can be real proud of yourself when the whole thing goes down. But when you knock on the door of the Lord, please don't think, even for a minute, that your part in that evil, which will be a Holocaust, and the blood will be on your hands. Don't think for a minute that that evil won't be accounted to your account. Maybe you were just confused, or maybe you're just stupid. So you believe the left's propaganda, which is all that replacement theology. That's all it is. It's like liberation theology, replacement theology. The Vatican, Israel is not of God. The UN, Israel is not of God. In other words, it all leads to one thing: delegitimizing Israel, and then obviously getting the United States, and this is what I'm watching prophetically, getting the United States to reject Israel as as belonging in that land, and therefore identifying Israel as a rogue state by the United States, rejecting Israel in the UN, and then calling to block Israel from any kind of attack on Iran or any of its neighbors with military force. And when this happens, know that you who side with that are anti-Christ, because Jesus comes out of that whole thing, and because the covenant, the one covenant for all people on earth, is not finished yet. You know, what would have happened if the covenant of Yahweh did not leave the Jews to go to the Gentiles, and then did not leave the Gentiles? Do you think the Gentiles are so deserving? No, the original covenant is broken and then reinstituted. Why? Because in Romans 11 it says that any Jew can be grafted back in. Those who rejected Messiah, have you noticed there's a huge messianic movement around the world? Jews accepting Messiah all over the world. Have you noticed that all the prophecies regarding Israel and the land, the rivers flowing and the grass being green and all the trees, you know, those have all come back since the cultivating of the land for the last 100 years or so? That all that was predicted that would happen in Israel has happened. You know what it may be is that maybe you're in your living rooms too long, or in your your little cubby holes and you've never seen Israel. Maybe you need to, one thing you could do is look at pictures of it before it was settled and then after and see the difference. And you'll see that, I will do a show about this down the road where I will just go through the prophecies and show you and then give you, evidence that, it's obviously it's on. And then after the Holocaust, the whole world felt, guilty on their part against the Jews. And, it came around that they could have that land in Palestine that they would return. And the Jews had already been returning. Not only that, but the Hebrew language had been reinstated and picked up as the national language. All these things were prophetic. And it goes on from there. There's a lot. There's actually a pretty long list. But one of the biggest of all prophecies is Messiah, Jesus, Yeshua. And, and just looking at like a kind of like in a childlike way, it's almost like, when you have these left-wing ideologues, which is what they are, they're politicos who are playing around with religion, okay? They love to take the heliport out from under Jesus' feet. The East Gate landing is just out, right? Ask any one of them about the return of Christ and see what the answer is. That's all you have to do. That's the Achilles heel right there. And then if you still want to go down that road because you're just a left-wing radical yourself and you just, you really want to hate the United States and Israel and Britain as well, get behind all the rioting, which is also funded by Soros and the governments of the world. They are funding all of it. Once again, for those people that don't understand the riots are being completely funded by the governments of the world, by Greece, by England, right, the shadow government, by Greece, by England, and France. It's the government and the unions in bed with the government that cause the riots by instigating them because they're the ones who benefit from the riots. So don't you riot here or you'll be a shill of the government. Do you understand? It's very important that you understand this. Just like you understand the whole need to denounce the United States, Israel, Great Britain, this sort of, 9/11 truth, how it all morphs into left-wing radicalism, and then there's a tacit support of Islam and giving Islam a pass at the same time. Okay? And ignoring all the atrocities done by Islamics against, say, in whatever country they infiltrate. This is all left-wing ideology. It's political. It's not spiritual. It's not of the Lord. How many people have gotten caught up in all that? Because, see, there's a bitter root there that's been exploited. You didn't do well in the United States, so you started hating the United States. So, because it's not the land that you were told, it was disappointment to you because of who you are, and you don't like the atrocities done in the name of progress or whatever, and there's been quite a few of them and all that. So you turn, then comes an ideology, a political ideology in the form of a theology that puts the blame squarely on, say, the Jews, okay? If you're like Tex Mars. Now, there's a guy that's got a name and who's, people know, okay? So Tex Mars is just adamant on this point. Or the Mossad took down the buildings on 9/11 or whatever. Anyway, to blame the Jews. This is the same exact thing that happened back in pre-World War II. The same thing happened. Okay? Anyway, it's happening again. The left will raise up Islam or give it a pass, blame Israel and the Jews. And all these people that say they're not Jew haters, just look at their web pages and watch the discussions in their chat rooms. And believe me, have you ever been to like Jeff Rentz's, like the comments on some of that stuff? It's really, I'm amazed he's still walking around. I mean, without being arrested, without inciting violence toward Jews. It's unbelievable. Anyway, so that ideology falls in that, and they always go on about, how much they've read and how scholarly they are at coming to their conclusions and wanting to prove it to you intellectually. Well, this is not the subject of intellect. This is the heart. This is the spirit. And it's not my fault these people are not spiritual. They're not. They're totally carnal. And they want you to buy off on their ideology. And it's really that simple. And no, we don't give, the Jews in Israel a pass. If Israel, the state of Israel, does something wrong, you can stand against that. It's not the point. People are corrupt, and there's different forces, like there's left and right forces within Israel, just like there are within the United States. I've seen what the left does. In every country it's in, it ruins the country. George Soros, the ultimate radical leftist, wherever he's gone, incites riots, destroys currencies, destroys lives, makes $1 billion, and then he moves on down the road. This guy's an absolute monster. And he's embraced by Hillary Clinton, by the Democratic Party of the United States of America, loves Soros. By all the media, loves Soros, even though the man is a murderer. Absolute. If you consider all the suicides and all the deaths from creating poverty, and how does he cover it up? By being a philanthropist and throwing a lot of money at underprivileged groups so that he gets cover. He buys cover for himself. He's a monster. And I am very happy to see that Glenn Beck is back on point after he took a tumble, a predictable tumble, but he came back, and he's done the best work of his life right now on exposing Soros. I think anybody, well, hopefully they'll put it out as a series on DVD. If you really want to know how this whole machine operates, Soros is your linchpin. He's the key to the whole thing. He is the Rosetta Stone of radical leftism in the world, and the backing of radical Islam, the backing of the Vatican, and the backing of the UN. They're all tied in, and the rigging of these elections that's going on now. Chicago, you've got Joe Walsh. Now the lead is suddenly and mysteriously, he's about to lose. Because, remember Al Franken? Same thing there. He stole the election. If Walsh loses, the radical left will have stolen another one. Harry Reid, everyone knows that one was stolen. Barbara Boxer landslide, stolen by criminals. They will never let, furthermore, the Republican Party will never let the Tea Party ever get up. How about the people against the Tea Party out there? Do you want to know where the people that are making fun of the Tea Party and Sarah Palin and all that, how about them? Oh, they're so smart, aren't they? Well, let me explain this. Attacking the Tea Party puts them in line with the Republican Party establishment. The sort of, the thing they said they were against. These people that make fun of the Tea Party are aligned with the Republican Party establishment and the left, like Arianna Huffington, who's a huge backer of George Soros. Okay? Just so you know who you're in bed with. And it's very important that you don't vote and you don't participate and you don't raise your voice. So they will bark you down, and I've seen them do it when I was on Facebook. These sick little sycophantic idiots come around in the name of their left-wing politics, touting Jesus and barking down anyone that says anything decent about Israel or about the Tea Party. They come around trying to bark you down, trying to shame you, trying to shut you up. Well, the Tea Party may be not perfect, but it's the only legitimate expression. And you know who it scares? The establishment. So they send their shills, like these people that make fun of the Tea Party on Facebook. These are shills propped up by their ideologues. And what they want to do is get you to shut up or feel ashamed because you decided to raise your voice. The Tea Party candidates, that was a voice that wanted to raise up and say something, the people's voice, and did not have the backing of the Republican Party, did not have the backing of the Democrat Party, did not really have any other backing but independents. And so when those political machines of the left and the right got together to crush the Tea Party, because the Tea Party is the biggest threat to our political system that ever has been, they rolled out the huge machines of George Soros, the union thugs, and all of it to roll back the elections, to steal what was left of them, to stuff ballot boxes, to intimidate people, and to put shills online to bark anyone saying anything about the Tea Party, Palin and others, to do the ultimate. Let me just go into the prophetic. You will be found wanting. You will be given pink slips. And when that day comes, please do not whine and moan. You brought it on. So far as I know, it's not going to work. Oh, I know, you're going to keep on. Accuracy. That none of these will repent. Not one will you see repent. They will go on hating Israel. They will go on hating the United States, calling it all a conspiracy. Meanwhile, doing nothing, just taking up space and ragging on everybody that doesn't fit into their ideology. They will continue to be shills the rest of their lives, and their pathetic little life will end, and it will have been a waste of space on earth. I resent the fact that they bring Jesus into this thing at all when it's all political from their point of view. It really, really irritates me that they start touting theology when they know nothing about it. In fact, they're dead spiritually anyway. That's why people don't listen. They listen to something that's alive. That's why they listen to Fox News rather than CNN, because there's something alive going on in Fox News. Criticize it all you want. But there's a vibrancy. There's an alive spirit. Well, these old-time ideologues, these leftist ideologues, are dead in the spirit. When you have the Antichrist spirit, first of all, there is no life. All you can do is complain and rag on stuff. That's all you do. Complain, complain, complain. I mean, how long have I lived rent-free in these people's heads? Like I'm the problem. When I'm just a little old broadcaster with no support, really. You know? And yet, I guess I'm considered a threat to that political system. And that's all it is. And no, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. And no, I will not change what I'm saying anytime soon. I will keep putting out the truth the way I know it. And there might have been a time where I thought that replacement theology people could be reasoned with, that eventually they would see that they're not replacing the Jews, and that, you know, the covenant, the broken covenant and all that does not mean the Gentiles are the Jews. I just listened to it. You know, another guy that's really into this crap, Pete Peters. These people are in line with Pete Peters, the white supremacist. Oh, gosh. He goes on and on and on and on, 24 hours a day on shortwave, about how the Jews today, who is a Jew? They're the white Anglo-Saxon people of Germany and England. The white people in America are the real Israel of God. And it goes on from there. I mean, it goes down from there, folks. It really does. It's literally unbelievable. It's just so sick. I don't even want to really deal with it, but it is affecting the world stage right now, because we watch for Israel to be rejected by the United States. It has been, policy-wise, it's starting to get shut down every time, okay? We need to see, to launch, World War III and this whole thing for Yahweh to make a strike upon the earth, we need to see the United States and the world reject Israel in this way. This Israel is not of God. It's not in the Bible. These Jews are not really Jews. We need that to be done on a world stage. These little sycophants are doing it right now. They're left-wing sycophants. They're politicos. They're spiritually dead, but they're intellectuals, right? They live in their intellects. The same people that also slaughtered hundreds of millions of people in the name of their precious Communist Party, because they are communist. It's all clear to me what they are spiritually. Antichrist, communist, all that. It's very clear. If I had an inquisition right now, they wouldn't be here. That's how serious it is. I consider them not just a blight, but an enemy of the people of the world. I do believe they are the enemy. I believe this George Soros is absolutely a monster in the same level as Stalin, Mao, Hitler. Soros is on that. Actually, Hitler is more dangerous. Soros is more dangerous than Hitler. But look at all the sycophants that he has online. These sycophants, they're really solipsistic idiots, exist online to smack down anyone that has any connection to the truth about Yahweh, Israel, the United States, and whatnot. Okay, so all these different groups. The white supremacists are in line with these left-wing ideologues. Both say the Israel illegitimate and that Jews are illegitimate, meaning that, and they will all give a tacit approval of radical Islam in some way, shape, or form because the Islamics promise to kill the Jews, which is what they really want to do deep down, although they'll never admit it. They say they love the Jews. They love everyone. They're in Christ, don't you know? Anyway, Christianity is taking a dark, dark turn. The blessing to the Gentiles is now returning to the Jews because the blessing to the Gentiles is being broken off. Why? Because the time of the Gentiles is now full. The corruption of the Gentiles is now so overbearing and so over the top that the blessing is being withdrawn. You realize that they're going to hang a woman and for having just brought water to Islamic women because she was a Christian and because she brought them water and they didn't want to touch the water that she brought just because they were thirsty. They're going to hang her and she's still in prison. Where is this, in Pakistan? In Pakistan, a Christian woman. Okay? This is Islam. This is Sharia law. She's been in prison since June. They're going to hang her for bringing water because she was the wrong person to bring the water. They're trying to get Sharia law passed throughout the United States, but the people that say don't vote, they're not even on top of this issue. They're not even participating. They're above and beyond it. They're just waiting to be picked up by Yahweh. They have been sidelined by radical leftist ideology, and that's what you're dealing with, and that's the spirit of what you're dealing with when you deal with them online, okay? It's got nothing to do with me. If I didn't have, a pretty foundational listenership, then probably I would never be mentioned. There's that aspect too. But I mean, like I say, I was on the fence for a long time where I was trying to make peace with all sides in this. And I realized these are different tribes, different peoples, different tongue, different spirits. One is Antichrist and one isn't. And that's about all I have to say on that subject. I don't know. You're going to, look, if you hang around the Steve Quayles of the world and, conspiracy theory and Alex Jones and Jeff Rentz and, you're going to, spiritually, you're going to get pounded by left-wing ideologues. They're going to get you. Tex Mars and so forth. They're going to convince you that these evil Jews are not of God and they're apostate, serpent seed, whatever, and the real Jews are you. They're going to try to do, and you're also the 144,000. You're also the heroes of old in the Bible. You're the good guys. And they're going to do all this to you to control your minds. So bust out. I mean, some of the people that I've seen who follow along with these, people, okay, don't seem to be the brightest bulbs in the box. I'll say that. They think they're on the cutting edge of information, of knowledge. And they blindly back the slaughter of Jews. When I say the slaughter of Jews, I mean this is where it all leads to. And then they say they're martyrs if they ever get if anyone lifts a finger to them or says anything, or if the state goes against them, because they're also against the United States. So, and criticizing that. So if that ends up happening, then they claim martyrdom. No, our war is with communism, with Islam, many factions of Islam. I can't break it up. I'll just say Islam itself is a problem, okay? It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. It's also an antichrist spirit. Denies Jesus. And then there's the others, Jesus is not God. These guys don't do anything. They're laced with conspiracy theory and all that. And these guys go around in circles and circles. Anyway, they got you on the sidelines doing nothing, pinned there. And these bullying leaders they have go around beating you down and ridiculing you if you have a different view about Israel. Have you been through that yet? Have you been called a moron or an idiot because you believe in Israel, or you say something nice about Sarah Palin or any of that, you've been attacked. Who do you think would attack you? What would their ideology be? Well, put 2 and 2 together and figure it out. Figure it out. Figure out where the threat is coming from, because it is a threat to your freedom, ultimately. You should be able to say yay or nay to anything. Like, you should be able to talk about Soros if you want, or Palin and a glowing lighter, or people on various sides of this wall, I'll call it. Because we're beyond the time of any kind of debate here. This is spiritual warfare. These are the articles of faith. What you believe in this regard cannot be resolved through debate. Do you understand that? The only people that want to debate are people that want to obfuscate. They want to use the Hegelian dialectic to bring about their point. And they're filthy. Filthy, because they know this, what I'm telling you. And yet they continue anyway. And I'll just say that it's going to be a bloody mess. I wouldn't be surprised if we one day have a civil war where we're actually shooting each other. You know, I really wouldn't. And that would be fine with me. You know, that they would side up ultimately with, and let's say you were backing, you know, the Tea Party rebelled or whatever it was. You know, there was a thing between the Tea Party and the establishment, okay? Let's say that came down to a civil war. These people, these left-wing ideologues, I mean the ones that aren't rounded up for being separatists, because then that becomes a whole other thing. They may sign up to fight you for your freedom, for your ability to think freely. You know, ultimately, you're going to have to know what you believe in rather than being bandied about. All these people have an agenda, whether it's, you know, the Rent Show or the, you know, Tex Mars or Alex Jones. They all have an agenda. Steve Quayle, all these people have an agenda. My agenda here is, God told me to be a friend of Israel, not to betray them. Watch for everyone else, the whole world, to betray them. That will fulfill prophecy. Watch that. So I'm on it. I may not have always been as fervent as I am now, but I'm on it. Watch radical Islam. The putting Christians wholesale to death is also what's described in the Great Tribulation. Backing the people putting the Christians to death wouldn't be the right thing to do now, would it? Nor would waving a big communist flag, which means the flag of Satan. That's what it means to them, to the inner circle of communists. That's what it means. All right? Spiritually, that's what it is. You know, I'm sorry, it may be hard for you to get along with crass materialists that are more conservative, like people that make tons of money, you know, and all that. I'm sorry, they may be hard to take. But one of these ways is wrong, and one is right. And it's time now to, you know, shake off. I know how it is on the internet. You don't want to be seen as standing with somebody. You know what I mean? So you just decide not to put the article up, or you decide not to put the audio up, because you just don't want the backlash from people barking it down. Okay, do you go and bark down other people? Do you find a need to do that? I should get back on Facebook, because I love to chase around the barkers. I would love to just chase them down, but then again, that takes time, right? Oh, I would love to tear it up with a few people right now, but I think it would be a waste of my time, because these are little people, insignificant people, tiny-minded people, people that think only in terms of, you know, who influence, 5 people maximum. But I have to say, these barkers, these people that come out of nowhere barking, and they're ignorant. They just show their ignorance, that they don't understand the world. They don't understand World War II, for example. They don't understand what we came through. They don't understand that the United States is, with all its problems, is still the last best hope on earth. Everything else up to the point has been tyranny. So we better fix what's wrong. Right now there's an internal struggle to fix the corruption. And the corrupt guys on the Republican Party and the Democrat Party are fighting tooth and nail together to smash the Tea Party people. And when I find people aligned with them smashing the Tea Party people, I have to think, wouldn't you? Who these people are working for? Yeah. Who are they working for, folks? Who benefits here by shaming you for putting up, say you put up the Glenn Beck series on Soros, the YouTubes, I'm sure there are YouTubes on his Soros exposure, which is probably some of the best journalism ever done in the history of YouTube or journalism. So Beck came back, you know, obviously he repented of his Messiah complex or whatever it was, and they got smashed. And but this Soros work, I'll give credit where credit's due. I may not agree with him. I may not really agree with Mormonism and Freemasonry and all that stuff. But I will say this: when he talks about your freedom being on the line, you know, why would we be here in America if it wasn't for freedom, and if it isn't to fight for freedom, and isn't freedom of God? Aren't we called to do that by our holy God, by our Creator? When we fight for, isn't the story of the Jews, for example, the Old Testament, the story of bondage to liberation? Isn't that what it's about? Isn't freedom of God? So when you see them barking down the freedom people, what conclusion can you make? Okay, radical leftist ideologue, yes? Aligned with, you know, in some strange way, the New World Order, which they eschew, but that's what they're supporting. Yeah, and every time these people, radical left, has ever taken over a country, there's been a bloodbath. They always, because they don't have any solutions, okay? When it goes south, it leads to genocide. You know, jumping in bed with radical Islam is going to lead to genocide of Christians. Siding up against Israel is spiritual suicide. Absolutely. And then they look at the Bible, I know, they go, well, that bless, curse thing doesn't apply because who's a Jew? So they go back to the who's a Jew thing. Who's the Jew? Who's a Jew? Who's on first? What's on second, you know? And they obscure the whole thing by saying, what's a Jew? We can't find Jews. And then they delegitimize, convert Jews. You know, there's actually about 20 categories of Jews. I mean, there's a lot of different categories. Anyway, a Jew is a person who practices Judaism. Okay? However they got there really doesn't matter. But the whole, you know, two candlesticks, one candlestick argument, it just becomes extremely problematic. There isn't any argument. Yahweh is Yahweh. Creator is Creator. Do you think the Gentiles deserve to have a covenant with Yahweh? Do you think the left-wing ideologues posing as Christians deserve to have a covenant with Yahweh? Do you think that? Because they tout the name Jesus, they get a break for influencing everyone with their propaganda? You know, siding up with the UN, siding up with Soros, siding up with the radical left in the United States against Israel, against the United States, and so on and so forth, against freedom, etc., etc. Soros is here to take down the United States. He's the enemy of the state. That's his whole purpose. His entire purpose is to take down the United States. He said it, not me. That's what he said. The United States is in the way of world order. He is aligned with Islam against Israel. That's why all his sycophants, there's that word again, back Islam and the mosque. There should, were you involved in that debate? Do you realize what an insult that mosque would be? I can't even believe people would give it a pass. At this point, I think that, you know, maybe people are just so lost that these false, you know, lying ideologue teachers that have come in to mind control all of you, maybe this is the great delusion of 2 Thessalonians 2:11. Maybe this is giving strong delusion to people so that they would be damned. In other words, they would believe the wrong thing. Maybe that's what these people are doing, preaching the Antichrist spirit. Just ask them, is Jesus going to return and rule with a rod of iron for 1,000 years? Ask them, is that true or not? They're going to say, of course that's not true. It's more like this. It's like, look at this chapter and this verse, and see, compare them all. See what I mean? See what Yahweh is really saying here? It's fucking, excuse my French. I almost said the F word. Like effing joke is what I was going to say. Well, I got it going on all fronts. I mean, if I'm not fighting the gang stalkers, I'm lining up with people. Yeah, and I'm aligned with people that are very wealthy in this fight. So maybe they can call off some of the gang stalking. I had a dream last night. I just spiritual warfare. I was there. I will tell you this in a video today. The video is a good medium for me. I want to shorten up these talks here and then, hit you with a 1-2 punch, because I'm dealing with some spiritual attacks that are just really, really, I haven't had anything like this for about 10 or 12 years. And it's in my face, I mean, I'm switching gears here a little bit, but, there's nothing more I can say about this issue. The people that tout it, they have their... all these guys have like PhD after their name, or they're some illustrious, you know what I mean? They read a few books, which I just laugh at. You know what the Bible says about people that read a lot of books and do a lot of research? Vanity. Vanity. It's meaningless. In the end, it's just the truth. It's a spiritual, it's a man's heart, isn't it? It's the heart. And I mean, there's not much more I can say about it. I mean, people are I made my pitch now, right? My pitch for truth. If you want to back Soros and back Hillary Clinton and back, tabling Israel as Israel of God, as the Vatican, side with the Vatican, side with the UN, side with Obama against the United States. Obama also hates the United States as much as the people here who are squatting here hate it. Because they're just squatters, right? They don't vote. They don't participate. They think they're separate, and they're trying to, wait for the end times where they're going to be lifted up as the anointed of God. Oh yeah, no, I mean it's incredible. It's unbelievable. The deception's unbelievable. Maybe they're just all deceived. I'm willing to say this, that a lot of these shills who end up working for the Soroses of the world, for the Antichrist spirit, I don't think they know it. If they're just a little guy on Facebook who's, meaningless, because, I mean, they don't influence more than a couple of people, right? That's one of the problems with Facebook. If you want to influence people with a video or something, then don't put it on Facebook. Put it on YouTube, or get a blog. If you don't have any money, get a blog. Use YouTube. Facebook is it's a black hole. Everyone disappears there. The links don't get out when you link there. If you have a blog, at least you can link there, and the link will be on Google when you do a search on it, right? If you want to jump in this fight, get into the info war then. Spiritually, I got other things to deal with. I will just say this. The forces against Israel, including the Vatican right now, are Antichrist spirit, plural, spirits. These are Antichrist spirits. Replacement theology, Antichrist spirit. The Jews are really the Anglo-Saxons, Antichrist spirit. The Jews are really the black people, Antichrist spirit, okay? Jesus is not coming back in the flesh. You need to read that as a metaphor, Antichrist spirit. Now that is what the Bible actually defines as Antichrist. It says Jesus has not come in the flesh. And that indicates did not come, nor will he return. These are Antichrists, says John, plural. So there are many Antichrists in the world today. Okay? And Islam is their hammer. Radical leftism is their political ideology. And right now, like I say, look what I predicted. I predicted the world would turn on Israel. And after I made that prediction, look what the Vatican did. So the people that actually sought to take issue with me on that, on the replacement theology people, Guess what? They are now aligned with the Vatican. They are now aligned with the UN, and they are aligned with George Soros. Isn't that interesting? Now, I know Soros doesn't appear to be an enemy of the Jews. It's just he's a radical leftist, and radical left, the policy is to use Islamofascism ultimately to take over the globe, but then to kill off the Islamics, so the Islamics are being dupes as well. But all this is, maybe this is inevitable. These spirits of Antichrist. But, I'm not going to sit back and wait for the trucks to go up and down the street, hauling me off and hauling us off to the camp. I'm not going to do that. I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to try to work with what I've got. I'm not going to sit out on the sideline and say not vote. Well, my vote got a governor elected here, Susana Martinez, and, say what you will about her, but at least she's not Bill Richardson, who is another internationalist, another part of the problem. No, I like Bill. He's a nice guy, but he's part of the problem. He's part of the machine, and that machine had to go. These people that are touting against Israel, they are part of the machine. And they will just as easily tout against you in the United States. I wouldn't be surprised if they side up with the fascists in the end and going around policing people like you and me and throwing us in jail eventually for our stand for freedom. But anyway, when they bark you down, you should just tell them, do I have free speech on Facebook? Do I have free speech on this chat room? Well, then why don't you leave me alone? If I want to back somebody or say something good about somebody, I don't want to worry about you coming around and trying to shame me or make me feel guilty or make me feel embarrassed. These are bullies. And these are agenda-driven people, all right? Totally. And they are deceivers, antichrists, liars, thieves, whatever you want to call them. But they will, because see, if you're just out there, like Trish is right now putting something on Facebook, probably. Okay. Her blog there is just basically, all right, and Happy Veterans Day to and where is the America hating Obama? He's lining up with the anti-Israel folks, with the replacement theology folks, with the liberation theology and social justice wing of the Catholic Church is where he's going to wind up as a Christian, and so is Clinton, and so are the rest of them. And we also have to fight the globalists who are Republicans, who pose as right-wingers, but they're not. They are for the establishment, the ruling class, which is primarily leftist. It's a game, but the game has to end. Anyway, it's getting closer and closer to blood splattering. And I can tell you, I can feel it coming, can't you? I can feel, see, it's going to come to riots in the United States. Riots. Now, that reminds me of Brother Thomas, and maybe I should see if I can get him on the air this weekend to talk about the next phase, because he's probably blogging about it already, but if these riots are planned already, and guess who's behind them? You bet. It's left. The radical left are behind them. The government. Elements of the government. I won't say the whole government, but, elements of the government that would benefit from whipping up a distraction like riots. In France, the riots were whipped up by the unions and for the benefit of the government, so they could quell any opposition. In England, it was set up by the unions as well, and now they are dealing with that opposition, and they will do the same thing here. People that riot are dupes of the government, of the establishment. Understand the way it works. That's all I need to say right now. This is Zeph Daniel. This is the Zedjah portion of the Zeph Report. Zedjah, a renegade voice, the voice of freedom and voice of truth. And I'm here to bring you that and from a spiritual perspective. And that's basically what we have to do, is the spiritual perspective. We really need to pray. Because see, all the stuff that's happening are due to people going lax, not closing up those portals as we talked about. We need to be closing up those portals of evil. They're opening them every day. We need to have prayer warriors there covering that with prayer constantly. It's a war. We can't be shrieking. If you don't want to, I told you get involved politically, you do it for God. In other words, your ballot becomes, it gets prayed over and sent in as a missile. Do you understand? None of it is the surface. None of it is the surface. The whole thing we're dealing with this whole spiritual Israel, replacement theology, Catholic Church, Vatican, the world turning on Israel. This is spiritual, folks. This is not, we have to deal with this spiritually. And when we talk about war coming, it's a spiritual failure. We have to deal with that spiritually. In prayer. And no, I don't like the propagandists and left-wing shills. No, I don't like them. And because to me, they're just liars. They're pushing an agenda and they're not telling the little people that they talk to, the little dupes, the useful idiots, are not telling them, by the way, this is all a political thing. Let me ask you a question. If you're in one of those camps right now, how spiritual do you feel? You feel like you can go out and move mountains with your prayer? How on it are you in terms of prayer? I had to make this conversation now, but we'll be dealing more and more with that, and I'll be going on tour to constantly, and wherever I can, take that video camera, because there's a lot of places we need to put cover down for our people. We need to close up some huge, massive, gaping wounds in the earth that are spiritual. Understand? So we'll be doing that. And, in so doing, I hope that you're inspired. That's where we really have to shift. I'm not going to be talking politics anymore, or this looking at Israel from the point of view of anything but the Antichrist spirits. And should Israel get a pass when Israel also is a secular evil state like every other state? I'm not looking at Israel that way. I'm sure there's quite a few portals of the people Israel. The Jews have had a great history with Yahweh about being thrown into captivity. Every time they got a little leg up, boom, they go decadent. Got to be smacked down again. So don't look to them to be a paragon of virtue either. But still, we got to do what we got to do, I'm not going to turn on them, As hard as it is, people try to shame me and bark me down, and they try to say all kinds of nasty things, trying to get me to obviously recant. And no, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not going to recant. I'm not going to shut up. So deal with it. We're going to keep putting it out. Now I'm going to turn to the video, because there are some things I can capture on video that you've just got to see. I need to do a walk in Santa Fe itself, through the downtown square of the obelisk. And I need to take a walk through the graveyard as well. You've just got to see this. I'm sure it's probably, you have something similar in your town, but it's really amazing. Anyway, with that, I bid you shalom, shalom, in the spirit of peace and love. And I love you. I'm praying for you, and I will see you. Actually, I will see you very shortly on the video. We will have a communion coming up this Saturday live, and I would urge you to break bread. That's the form we've been given now, that at least it doesn't get shut down. We've successfully done it a few times now, and who knows? One day they may shut it down as some infraction of I've broken some rule. But for now, we can have communion with the Lord, and I never know what's going to happen. I go into it with open spiritually, just like, okay, Lord, show me what is it. We go into it like that. We have to go into everything like that. Everything is spiritual. Nobody is really the enemy in terms of individuals. We don't want to get tied up with individuals, because see, they'll try to distract you. The enemy is spiritual. If we get down to a bloody war, in the first place, it was spiritual. And if you're in a bloody war and pinned down somewhere, I hope it's a good war. Yeah, if we're going to have war, I hope it can be a good war, not just wholesale slaughter of, Antichrist forces against little people just bludgeoning them because they can't defend themselves. I hope we don't have to see that again. But then again, aren't we seeing that all over the world? I mean, Obama goes to Indonesia, calls it a great liberated state, one of the biggest totalitarian regimes in the world, total tyranny. He calls it, he'd love to see us become Indonesia. That's right, they have no freedom there. Okay, great, Obama. Just a classic hater of the U.S. And obviously, he hasn't stated he hates Israel, but I think probably he's going to side with Islam in the end, and side with the Vatican, and side with the UN. He's sided with every radical leftist, New World Order, globalist thing they want, so why wouldn't he continue? He's the worst president I've seen. He's even worse than Bush, worse than Clinton. And Clinton sold out half our secrets to the Chinese. He was a total traitor. Did anything happen to him? No. How many of these people go around worshiping the guy? What level of idiocy is that? How dumb can these people be? You're worshiping and giving props and kudos to a guy who's got a knife in your back and is trying to excise your heart. Their agenda doesn't include you. You're just like they say in Russia, a useful idiot. With that, I bid you shalom.